Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
2023, you guys, and I'm winging it. Hi, it's Jackie Cation. Welcome to the Dork Forest. That's the website, The Dork Forest, if you like a determiner. Dorkforest.com also works. JackieCation.com has all of my stand-up information. Like, it has videos, it has pictures, it has links to this podcast and to my other podcast with Lori Kilmartin. It has a merch store that has Dork Forest t-shirts. It has all of my stand-up merch and all of my CDs and DVDs. So that's what you know about websites. There's an opportunity because we're in the new year here that you can donate to the Dork Forest. I don't have a Patreon. I don't have anything really set up, though I understand you can set up on PayPal a monthly if you wanted to. You could donate and be of to support the show. This is the 17th season, the 17th year I've been putting this stuff out. It's free, but if you have money and would like to throw me some money, boy, howdy. There's a PayPal, and there is at my email address, actually, Jackie@JackieCation.com, which you can also email me and tell me how much you're enjoying the show. You can also do Venmo if you'd like, which is just Jackie Cation, no hyphen, all one word, picture of this person, me, and then I think that's it. I think I have Zelle, but it's too complicated. Other than that, let's do the credits. Patrick Brady still in, fixing the audio all these years later. Give it up to Patrick Brady. That's what a lot of your donations support, by the way, because I like to share the wealth. And then Vilmos, he does the websites. And Mike Rickberg wrote and sang that song, composed and sang that song with his wife now, Sarah. And at the end, he sings the Mexican hat dance, which is always fun. Anyway, I'm sure there's more to it. There's a Bandcamp that has a bunch. It has like a stand-up storytelling album that was never released. There's also a bunch of live episodes that many of them are free. There were 200 episodes that were not pre-recorded, and I sort of culled through those, and I pulled like 17 of the best ones. There's an album collection of that, 17 hours of Dork Forest. If you run through all of the episodes, go to bandcamp.com, Dork Forest, or Google those words, and you'll find it. Anyway, there's probably more. I can't remember any of it, but you're doing great. Feel free to enjoy the show. Oh my gosh, I'm in my garage and it's 2023 for the numerologists out there who are keeping track. This is the year 2023. My name is Jackie Cation. You're listening to the Dork Forest. Returning guest, new dorkdom, Tess Rafferty. Welcome back.
New year, new dorkdom. It's great to be here.
Right? And so at Tess Rafferty on the TikToking of Twitter as we watch our watches and wait for it all to blow up in our faces. But on Instagram, it's the Tess Rafferty. And Tess, Tess, Rafferty, Rafferty. It'll be in the notes. You have a new book out.
I do. It's a brand new Cat Kelly mystery called To Lie in the Sun.
And there's a thing on it on the YouTube. If you're watching on the YouTube, it's new mystery, To Lie in the Sun, TOLIE, because they're all a bunch of fucking murderers.
Yeah.
Okay. You did murder mysteries, then you did murder mystery shows, and then
first time I did Italy.
First one you did Italy, and we talked.
Yes.
And I got to find out about the greatest tiny international store in Van Nuys, right next to my favorite video game.
Epicurus, that's right.
Yeah, Epicurus Gourmet, right next to the Game Dude. So the Game Dude still made it through the pandemic. Who knew that hard copies of video games would still be in demand? But here we are, 2023, doing it. This time, Tess Rafferty is going to be discussing the wonderful world of Barbie.
I know.
Why? How did it happen? When did it happen?
Multitudes.
Excellent.
It is really strange because especially after the pandemic, you take certain things for granted about yourself, right? Like, and forget how odd they might seem to outsiders, and then every once in a while you realize, like, hey, this isn't normal or whatever. And because we've been having people in the house again, now, whatever, I'm like,
you've reintroduced humanity into your space that used to be for 2 years, 16 months we were in lockdown.
For 2 years. Plus, if you think about it, like last year at Christmas time was when Omicron came out. We didn't have that booster. Numbers started going up again. It was getting a little scary in LA. We had like 0 available ambulances and stuff. So like last year, this Christmas, the holiday season wasn't as boisterous as this year.
Right. It wasn't the super spreader. It was this year. Yeah. Get in on it now, you guys. So they come over to the house. I missed it, of course. I was on the road dragging whatever is coursing through my veins all over the earth.
Right. Spreading a little bit of Jackie everywhere.
Right. Breathing on people.
You forget like, hey, yeah, this might seem sort of unusual. And I haven't reached the collector status that a lot of our, especially male friends and lovely guests you've had on your
Matt
show
Weinhold. Matt Weinhold. Yes. You can't walk into Matt Weinhold's house without seeing 100 different images of just busts, action figures, posters, all these things. But so did you just start collecting Barbies again, or Barbies initially with the lockdown?
No, but it just accumulates, right? Like a little bit here and there. I don't, I've got I'm looking around the room, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've actually got like 6 actual Barbies in my home.
And those are all of them.
Yeah, and those are pretty much all of them, unless I get my aunt's dolls. because we have to, my aunt's dolls is kind of what got me started as a very small child.
Please open a store called My Aunt's Dolls.
My Aunt's Dolls. My aunt was born in 1960. So she was, relatively young aunt, and she had all the cool mod Barbies.
Mod
Barbies. And when I was growing up, those were the ones I got to play with. Like I got a couple of new ones as time went on, but most of my Barbies were all of hers and all the older clothes and everything. And at the time I was little, like, you know how it is when you're a kid, you're like, I'd really like some new shit of my own,
right.
or more than I had as time went on.
You're not admiring the collectibleness of things as a 7-year-old. You're just like, no, I understand that this holds some value, nostalgic wise for you. But I was hoping for a Tonka truck of my own or whatever.
Yes. I was hoping for like the new styles, right? Yep. The pretty in pinks or whatever. And I would get a couple and stuff.
Divorced Ken. It came with a divorced Barbie. Came with all of Ken's shit. That was a joke that at least 3 comics did in 1996. I don't know why. Well,
and the great thing is Barbie's never been married, so that joke right there is actually inaccurate.
Were they were just doing it?
They were just doing it.
I did not know that. See, here's what we know about. Here's what this one knows about Barbies. I was given dolls that might have been Barbies, might not have been. They were women. And they were in dresses, and they were the 12-inch, the tall ones, right? The little bit, and then my brothers. There was I believe also a Ken. And I would undress them and throw them in the corner to have sex. And that was the end of it. And then my sister was like, these are so dumb. And so we were not into them at all. I don't even know if they were genuine Barbies, but I remember seeing the ads for them. And then the next time Barbies came into my life was my niece Maya was 7, 6 or 8, something like that, 5 to 8. And she wanted Barbies, and it was Christmas. And so mature. I was probably 30. I decided to make a mature moment. And so the mature moment that I made was that I would get her a Barbie. I realized that when you buy someone else a present, even if it's a child, get them the thing that they want. You don't get the thing that you want for them, books. Get them the thing that they want. And she wanted Barbies, and so I got her Barbies and some dresses and stuff. So when did you get your first Barbie?
I think the first new one I got I was probably, probably 6 or 7 years old, and it was the ballerina Barbie.
Okay.
I don't know why. I mean, I took dance lessons as a kid, but I was by no means great at it.
Right.
I don't think I had any desire for it. Like, I don't think I had to go see the Nutcracker ever or anything, but I got a ballerina Barbie, and she had a crown on her head. And the terrible thing about this is that, Barbie was always meant to be a fashion doll. She was always meant to be someone you could change the clothes and buy her different outfits. This crown, you couldn't remove it.
Oh, weird.
So whatever outfit you put Barbie in, it
She's
automatically
playing tennis.
yeah, it automatically came with a crown. And I remember this really bothering me.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
You're not
because the fun of it, and I think what is sort of the thing that I look back on when people go, isn't this like counterintuitive to who you are as, a feminist and an outspoken person and all, a liberal, and you just keep piling on all the adjectives you can describe me. And I go, no, because the great thing about Barbie was, for me, I think what I responded to was that she was an adult woman living in the world, right? She had houses, she had property, Jackie.
She's a landowner.
Yes. Right. She had a townhouse, she had a dream house, she had an RV, a Corvette, a pool, and no husband and no children. Like, she was her own person in the world who wore fab clothes and
live action Mary Tyler Moore, live action Margot, that girl who played that girl. And for sure.
And so they made wedding gowns for Barbie over the years, but like Ken was always a boyfriend. He was never her husband in terms of the lore. Sometimes he was in the picture, sometimes he wasn't. They made different iterations of Ken, like everything else.
Right.
But
I know that she was stepping out briefly with G.I. Joe. We all know that. That has been established. So yes, but okay. And everybody who is like, whoever says something like, you don't get to like Barbie because you're a feminist, you don't get to want to be skinny because you're a feminist, you don't, you're like, I'm alive, I am still being bombarded by all of the ads that you are being bombarded by. I am just more selective about that which I would like to do. I would love to wear fancy clothes and drive kind of a nice, cars I actually don't care. But I would like to be sexy and cool, and I would like to be thin and be able to wear anything and have it flow like I was like well, this is not the best example. This means I'm in my 50s. But Eileen Fisher. Jackie, that's not sexy. That's Diane Keaton. Anyway, so I don't know. But
very comfortable in a chic way. That's,
chic. I would like to be chic. This is never been built for chic. This, the only person I've ever seen who looks like this, who's been able to force herself to look chic, has always been sort of the famous, fabulously wealthy Black women. Oprah, Queen Latifah could do it. There's Lizzo's leaning toward it. I think it just takes a team to go, you can look chic. We're just going to make it so it fits you and it fits right. But this is not, so I've always wanted that kind of thing. And people are like, but you're a feminist. And I'm like, yeah, I also like dick. I get to be a whole woman. I get to be a whole person.
And I get to, also admire the artistry, I think, of certain clothes.
Okay.
And I think that's part of liking fashion, right? As a person, whatever that fashion is, by the way. And there's no end of fashions that can be, we've evolved. We have fashions that are very boyish or very, unisex, and they're still fabulous looking and stuff. And it's like there's an artistry to that and a way that it looks. And and I think,
do they show up on Barbie ever?
Well, in terms of like dress down clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you go to, yes, they do, and even more so in recent years. I mean, for as long as I can remember, you could always get some sort of like athleisure wear for Barbie because she rollerblades or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there's actually an Instagram account called Barbie Style. It's at Barbie Style.
Ooh.
And it's fantastic because it's literally run like Barbie's Instagram. And so
Is it owned by Mattel or whoever makes?
Yeah, I mean it's got to be. It's
Right.
it's got to be. So it's Barbie. Sometimes she's hanging out in the dream house in her Uggs in a bathrobe, going first day of the year, doing yoga, having coffee. And then other times she's like out on the go, has a meeting. She goes to Milan Fashion Week. She goes to New York. She partners with designers. So what's really incredible is the partner with designers, and they use all that is available in the current modern Barbie catalog of
like going back and up till now, like
well, in terms of the dolls, right? They'll
Right.
use, because like they'll use all the modern Barbies that are, they're diverse. They have different body types,
nice.
Different types of hair.
When has Barbie started doing that? I know that they were getting bitched at about it, that they were getting some beeswax because everybody was super tiny and it couldn't occur in nature. But are they doing sort of larger and are they doing people of color and stuff? And
oh yeah, I mean, and they've actually, one of the things I've heard about the clothing, and which actually makes sense when you think about it, is that the reason Barbie was drawn originally to those proportions, she was designed, was because of the way the fabric is loomed and so the way it had to fit around the body. Like if you were to
like putting it on factory wise, or
it was how they had to design the clothing so that it wasn't like because you're taking fabric that is like literally loomed at a nap and stuff. I don't know if that's the right word for adult humans, and then you're taking it and you're fitting it on tiny people. And it was something about, if you had made them more human in proportion, the fabric wouldn't have hung right. It wouldn't have fit right on them as they made it into clothing. They would have had to re-loom their own fabric. They would have to loom their own fabric, in other words, just for the
fabric itself, not the cut of the clothing.
The thickness of the fabric that they're using.
Right. So if she's getting a tweed coat because she's Sherlock Holmes Barbie, it's a thick thing.
It's and
it's too thick for any sort of doll. Kind of.
It had to drape right. I mean, now it's now such a big, enterprise. They probably do weave their own fabrics and have their own sort of things. Yeah. But at the time, they were using commercial fabrics, and that was one of the issues. So but they have in recent years, I can't tell you how long, started becoming really trying hard to be much more diverse in terms of ethnicity and hair type and skin tone, and body type.
Inclusive. Good for them.
Much more inclusive. And so yeah.
Do you know why?
Barbie style.
Do you know why? There's money on the table. Everyone realized, you know what? Everybody's got cash. And everybody has little kids, and everybody wants a Barbie that looks like them. So why wouldn't you make one if you wanted to make $17? It's
a really, I mean, everybody, as someone who grew up not blonde and not tall or thin, it was you want to see the best version of yourself represented, right? You want to see yourself, want to see a little shine put on it maybe, but you do want to see a brunette doll. I never, and I was okay with Barbie. I mean, I had some brunette dolls because they made more of them in the 60s and stuff. So some of my aunt's dolls were brunette, but I had the Christie doll, who was one of the earlier Black Barbies that they made. But yeah, you want to see yourself represented. It's an amazing thing. And so every day Barbie's kind of incorporating these modern different dolls into her Instagram posts, and she
Okay.
partners with a lot of designers too. And so up and coming designers and stuff will design outfits for these Barbies, and they'll kind of style them as they want to sort of fit the look that they're going for. And she'll be like, new outfit at Milan Fashion Week, and it's a Barbie at some famous hotel in Milan Fashion Week, and they get the perspective just right, so it looks like she's literally there in some amazing thing. And again, it's not always the standard Barbies. It's the standard blonde Barbie,
Oh my God.
white, blonde, whatever. Since yes, I'm gonna put my glasses on for that.
There's Ken. It's Ken. There's a small party hanging out. Huh?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's her New Year's Eve get together or whatever.
That's a New Year's Eve get together.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like, I feel like we're kind of missing that sitcom.
Right?
Do you know
Are
what I
you
mean?
kidding? Well, I think there was a cartoon or something. Wasn't there like a sort of a stilted, very flat board kind of cartoon that was on the TV show? But look at these two people. Who doesn't want to hang out with them and follow that friends like endeavor, right?
I want to be at that workplace cafeteria, like finding out what it looks like they're hanging out at YouTube or Google or something, except like
completely like
I'd rather talk to them. Yeah.
There's obviously cold brew on tap behind them somewhere, right?
And when I say, I mean, it's kind of like looking at a sitcom I want to see, right? Not necessarily about Barbie, but it's a little bit like, it's like looking at a fashion magazine. It's a little bit of escapism. It's a lot of artistry. It's
this is incredible art. The art here is incredible, quite honestly, and the attention to detail, and how much, I mean, it's a little uncanny valley. Put those glasses back on. Look at this lady. I mean,
yeah.
You're just like, okay, that's a little too much. Did you do that Lensa AI at all?
No, I hesitate to send my info places these days.
Well, a friend of mine sent mine, and I got them, and I've never looked more fuckable in my life. I was like, I understand cloning now, because I looked at it, I was like, I would that would be something that I would want to have sex with. And I rarely say that about myself, though, as you can imagine, I have settled. I've made do. So
I actually, like, I could totally see you dating you. Like, I could. I mean, don't you feel like? Don't you have aren't you married to sort of like the male version of you?
To some extent, it's except for and quite honestly, this is actually very funny. It is the male version of me, and he is better looking. Like, he is the better looking male version of me. Because he is a nerd, but he is many things that I wish I was, which is he is dapper. He can wear clothing. He can wear almost anything, and he looks very nice. But he is a giant fucking nerd. I'm a lot of swearing in 23. That's what's happening.
I know, a lot of fuckable. You like dick,
right?
Yeah.
We're not even 20 minutes into this thing, and so let's back up. So where did it all begin? You and liking. So you like Barbies because you get them from your aunt. When did she give them to you when you grew up, or?
Well,
or
they kind of it's a family heirloom that kind of circulates among went from me to maybe a cousin. Like, it always goes back to my aunt.
Okay.
There.
Oh, it's like visiting artwork. It's like you're on loan to your gallery, and that's very nice. It's
wonderful. And she had this house at the time that it almost was like a carrying case, and you could use it as a carrying case. It was
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
It was shaped, looked like a mid-century modern house on the outside. It was like kind of like a triangle on top and whatnot, and you unbuckled the at the top, and it folded out so that was now the living room floor, and everything behind it was like the house or whatever. And
like a dollhouse kind of thing, right?
Yeah, this was more. I think there was some built-in furniture. It was mid-century. It was a mid-century modern looking house, so it was all one story.
Right.
You could, but you would see maybe there was some hard furniture there that they could sit on, and then some mural stuff, of the kitchen and a pool
just
outside the window.
right.
That kind of thing.
The walls were painted with like furniture and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. It was
Yep.
the precursor of the dream house, and but that was her house when she was growing up with all of it. So it was kind of, I appreciated it more as I got older, and I think as a kid, I outgrew it at some point. Except that, so here's so I've got this book. It's called Barbie: Her Life and Times, and it's a 1980s book that I got as a child, and it's just kind of a picture book that's mainly the history of Barbie, which is interesting because I had a lot of the older stuff in there, and I used to read it when I was a kid, and probably when I was kind of graduating out of Barbie a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing about the second half is that they did this big exhibit called like the New Theater of Fashion. Right. And it was based on an exhibit they did in Paris after World War II, where they, in the original exhibit in 1945, they made like basically dolls and showcased new fashions on them.
Okay.
And they did a huge exhibit and it toured the world. And one of the things is that, after World War II, as fashion was sort of getting going and booming again, fabric was very expensive. So this was a way to showcase fashions and not use a lot of fabric.
Oh yeah.
There's a famous thing where there was a model, I think it was Yves Saint Laurent or Dior, was in Paris on a photo shoot in the years following the war. And she got attacked because the people there who had been through, so much loss and poverty and fear and starvation and everything, just couldn't believe that you would waste all that fabric on one person's dress. Like there's a famous story about it. So anyway, so what they did was in the late 80s, mid 80s, they put together another touring exhibit, but this time they used Barbie, and all the designers, all the designers went and designed for Barbie.
Okay.
In this exhibit. And
there's Saint Laurent.
Yves Saint Laurent. Yeah. There's the Dior page.
Okay.
Yes.
Super fun.
And remember how it was then, Jack, we didn't have new entertainment at our fingertips all the time.
You remember magazines. Yes.
We read the same books over and over again.
Sure.
We watched the same programs, like whatever it was. And so I can't tell you how much I read this book. And I think it was the interesting bridge for me between something that I played with as a doll. It was dolls that I played with as a child, and this exciting world of fashion. It kind of, I think, kept it alive for me in a very weird way. It just got kind of hardwired into my brain.
Right, because it helped transition into adulthood because they were real adult fashions.
They were,
right?
And yeah.
Right.
And as I said, and I don't know if you saw the Barbie trailer, the one for the movie that just came out like a week or two ago.
No? Is there a new Barbie movie?
So Greta Gerwig is I think she's written it too. She's directing a movie with Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie playing Barbie and Ken. And
what?
Everybody's kind of like, it's like Barbie in the real world or something, but it's very campy. I haven't been that attached to it because I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna be my thing or not. But the trailer, they had a little teaser trailer that came out a week or two ago, and it was this like desolate desert of I guess it parodies 2001 or something, but I know, listen to me, I'm going to get so many people yelling at me from the Dork Forest because I'm like, I guess it parodies 2001 or something, but it's all these little girls and they're just dressed in these like brown dirndls and they just look sad and they're playing dolls and they're like, doing all like the kitchen sets and all the stereotypical toys that were available for girls that were basically just like indoctrination centers to get you to want to be a wife and a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a brilliant trailer because it sums up exactly why Barbie was different, because she showed young girls a window into an independent world. Right. Like an independent life where you didn't have to get married. You didn't have to get kids. You could be an astronaut. You could be Aryan, be a rocker, whatever it was. Like you could go off and have your own career and your own fabulous house.
You get a driver's license to drive yourself around. It was very exciting.
Yeah, in a two-seater. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, just you could be in a Corvette. I think like when I think about how much of when I was little, I don't know if you had this. When I was little, California seemed like the most magical place on earth you could live.
Oh, interesting. I thought China. But I think it's been established. Weird child.
We all have our things.
We all have our things. So where did you grow up? I forget.
I grew up in Delaware. Okay,
so you grew up on the East Coast and you heard about Hollywood and Los Angeles and California.
I think through Malibu Barbie, yeah. And other things too, but...
Well, and 90210 and all of those shows were so set in California. I remember when Laverne and Shirley moved to California. I was like, why would they move there?
Yeah.
And they didn't really fit in. It's real hard to do a blue collar California, even though I live in Van Nuys, which could not be more blue collar until, of course, it isn't, until it is co-opted. But
right. Yeah. Give that a minute.
Give that a cycle.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, it was exciting.
It seemed so exciting. And sometimes I think about it just, ironically, and then it didn't seem exciting. And then all I wanted to be was in New York or Boston or whatever. And then I actually moved to California and didn't really take to it right away. But now I'm like, no, California is again to me the best place. I'm like, I wouldn't live anywhere else in the country. I love our weather and our politics and
opportunity. I genuinely love it, which is good because wherever you live, you should love it. And you better learn to love it or fucking move. Again with the F word. Stop barking.
If the pandemic taught us anything, it was that learn. You better love where you live.
You better love where. Yeah.
But it's funny to think about, and I think part of the reason, other than TV shows that took place out here and things, but part of the reason was, the idea of Malibu Barbie, and and I think that, I think that like it was something that got you to see a world beyond your own. For me, everybody's different. And people, other people, that's why they like Star Wars, right? But for me, it was like, here's a world beyond your own world.
Right. And it was as exciting as Star Wars to some extent. I mean, because she has everything. She had access to, I remember there were Barbies, and then most of the things on display were the outfits and the trinkets and it's like Hot Wheels. A Hot Wheel is $1.19. If you want Hot Wheel track, everything's $40.
Right.
Right. I mean, everything. It's collect
Legos.
Are like Legos themselves, pretty cheap. But if you want a kit that tells you how to actually build a space station, $75. And it's you're right. So I did love the extent that she had stuff. So when the Barbies come from your aunt and go to like your cousin and then they come to you, have you changed their outfits? Are you guys moving it along going, I'm gonna get this lady a hat? Or do you just or is it just the same outfits that you're just sort of having on display?
I got outfits, and even as I was just looking at this book just now, as I was cramming for tonight's show, I was like, oh yeah, I had that Barbie too. And I think she winked or something. Like I'm remembering that I had more new Barbies than perhaps I, gave my family credit for. But, I accumulated them over some time. I was probably, I don't know if I stopped playing with them when I was, I probably would like to think I stopped playing with them at 10, was maybe closer to 11 or something,
I knew people that literally still playing with them at 14 or 15 didn't talk about it a lot because when we were children, it wasn't something you could really talk about. But there were things that everybody liked that you're like, yeah, this is my toy. When I was a kid, like when we were kids, I still have my stuffed animal from when I was a very little girl. And I remember being made fun of when I was like 10 or 11 that I still slept with it. And I was like, so sad, too bad. Still going to sleep. We don't have to tell anyone.
Yes.
But I'm going to need to hug this this animal. Anyway, so.
Makes a lot of sense as an adult.
Yeah. And when we look at children and they want to do these things, we also understand because I think are the first generation of adults who still collect toys and adults that still have that nostalgia for what that comfort that they gave us. And
yeah, I mean, I have I have a theory about Gen X, right? Like that. I feel like we never had a defined childhood. Like we were always kind of little adults. We were like the big thing was the latchkey kids and stuff. And we were always kind of like, I think because for the first time, sociologically speaking, and obviously there's always exceptions to all generalizations. I just want to put that out there. But I think it was our parents as people had this sort of permission to get divorced and have affairs and find themselves and, leave and then maybe come back or be part-time or whatever it was they were off, go to work. They were off finding themselves doing. So we had all this, we were privy to adult problems. We had all this unsupervised time. And so we were never fully children, but I think as a result, we never fully became adults. Like we were our most successful enterprise has been selling our own childhood back to each other and making nostalgia okay. And in the 90s, everybody started collecting lunch boxes because there was a comfort in that.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine people in Hillary and Bill Clinton's like generation in their 20s collecting old lunch boxes?
Literally, I mean, I can't imagine. Like, it's interesting to me that like if my grandmother, there was not a toy in her, in her life, right? She was born in 1895, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So she had my dad in like 1938. So late, right?
Yeah.
For her.
Yeah.
And she had a bunch of miscarriages and then she had my dad. And he had toys. But they were sacrosanct. Like he could barely play with them. His parents were like, okay, take him out. Here's a half an hour. Enjoy it. Let's put it back together. And so very, very different than whatever. And yeah, I think you're right about adulthood too, because I did notice, because I have been thinking about when I realized that I was an adult, and I think I was about 31 or 32 years old, which is a good 12, 14 years after I was legally an adult. So
there is we have a joke. Chris and I, my husband and I have a joke where anybody who's older than us is our grown-up friends. And obviously that age is getting older and older. Not realizing that not only are we also grown-up friends, but even the people in their mid to late 30s who we look as like being like the kids are grown-ups as well in their own right.
Right. Nothing more disappointing than when I found out I was the adult in every situation, even with other adults. I was like, I get it. I'm the adult with this 9-year-old, but I'm also the adult with this other 36-year-old. What a pain in my ass. I was like, you should take the high road. You're the grown up. And I'm like, both the grown up. Very disappointing. Yeah. So what are your favorite, you were going to come up with some faves, right?
Well, yes. So this book is definitely so you were so I don't have necessarily I have like my top five favorite things, let's say, about the whole franchise.
Okay.
So some
About the
I can some I can show on camera, and some are too big or I don't have them here.
And just describe them, because most people do listen to this, though it is on YouTube, you guys.
That's true. So the Barbie book is my favorite, one of my top fives. Again, because this has been with me for many, many years. And
who wrote it? What's the
this designer named Billy Boy.
Okay.
Yeah, who was
so if you're looking for it, it's called Barbie by
Barbie Her Life and Times. You probably have to get it used. I don't know if it's in print anymore.
Sure.
But an interesting thing is, so the second half of this book is the exhibit that I told you about, the fashion exhibit. And I guess apparently it comes out every once in a while, and they bring out all the original stuff and then dust it up with some new stuff and whatnot, because God, is that 7 years ago now? Wow. When I was in Rome, yeah, it would have been 2016. And I've been to Rome a number of times. So just to put this in context, and I'm walking around for the day with my husband. We're going off somewhere else the next day, but like we have a, day and a half in Rome, and, we're trudging through like another obscure church where we can see a Bernini Moses or something. And we stop in front of a museum there just to kind of get some pictures and whatnot. It's not too far from the Colosseum, whatever. And I look up, and they've got an entire Barbie exhibit that's basically the exhibit that's in this book, as well as they've been adding designers over the years. They've got more classic Barbies that you've never seen before.
Oh, wow.
Kind of stuff. And I was going in there before I'd even said goodbye to him. I just like was just, yeah.
Did he have to come?
God, no.
Okay.
No, I was like, go enjoy Moses's balls or whatever it is you're going to be looking at. And I think it was like literally some statue of Moses where you could see his balls or something that he ended up. I was like, have fun. I'll text you later. We'll meet up somewhere. And I got to see it. I got to see it in person, and no regrets. I'm so glad I was there and saw the poster and was like,
was it you? Somebody told me that there is an art gallery in Los Angeles that has a Barbie exhibit, and that they had gone to it. It's the Mark Ryden Barbie Gallery. On Melrose.
Yes, I know about that.
Let me see.
Because he showed like
it seems to be in between Crescent Heights and La Cienega on Melrose, and it's called the Mark Ryden RYDEN Art Gallery, and they have a Barbie exhibit.
I knew of that to some extent because our mutual friend from the world of comedy, Boris, has his fingers in a lot of cultural pots around Los Angeles. He always seems to
weird. Good for him.
He's on a lot of mailing lists, and always forwarding me things like weird, obscure, like, did you know there's a new oyster bar, or there's an, Italian pop music discotheque opening downtown, or like whatever. So he'll forward me the Barbie stuff. And I thought they were unveiling, like, I didn't realize it was an ongoing exhibit. I thought they were just unveiling a new design there or something like that.
I didn't know. And it clearly wasn't you, because I don't remember who told me this, but I was interested, because I was like, well, imagine taking, 60, 50 years of Barbies and making some sort of gallery out of it, some sort of exhibit out of it. And it is, I think, fascinating, and you should go and then tell me.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I will definitely go, and it's a really interesting reflection of our times. Starting in 1959, right up through the present. Seeing I saw all the vintage stuff, which is amazing, some of which I had. There's all new designers in addition to the old designers. They've got
did they have all the stuff in addition to the Barbies? Did they have all the, like, the houses and cars and pools and
Yeah, they must have had physical stuff. I remember the dolls. That's what,
Okay.
because again, the fashion is so.
That's the thing that you're really dorking out about, is you love to see. What's your favorite outfit that you've ever seen? Like, have you ever looked at like in that museum, was there, or whatever, in the book, where you're like, that's amazing, or whatever? I don't even, or even on that
Oh,
Instagram account, because
oh, absolutely. I would look at the book and imagine I had those clothes, especially the modern stuff.
yeah.
And I would realize later in life when I would be putting together different outfits, like, oh, I'm copying this look that I saw in that, or whatever it
Awesome.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would absolutely notice that. And it's just, we all of our origin stories are different.
Yeah. That's so great.
Yeah. So that should just probably bring me to number two. My number two thing, speaking of outfits and stuff,
Yeah.
which was I was gifted this Barbie. They have so many different collectible lines you can't even fathom, right? Because certain designers have sold, Vera Wang had a Barbie, or a couple.
Oh, wow.
They've had Barbies that have been made to look like all sorts of famous. There's a whole famous line of Barbies that have come out, Frida Kahlo and everybody. There's been famous, there's a Lucy Barbie and a Breakfast at Tiffany Barbie, and so many different lines over the years. It's kind of like really a kink for everyone.
Okay.
Literally, because they've been doing a crossover of Barbie and David Bowie, like David Bowie's different looks and Barbie, which is two things I love. Not together.
Okay.
A little weird. Google the image. It's a little strange, but
she looks a little bit like Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes. And was another influence on Barbie. But as you can see, she's got a caftan on. She's a brunette.
Very much so, yes.
She's got very big statement earrings. And as a matter of fact, not unlike what I look like for 7 or 8 months out of the year in California.
Would you love a big caftan? Those earrings are enormous. How are they attached to her ears?
They're just kind of bolted on there. Yeah.
Right, because those are they like are they like the crown? Are they like the tiara where you can't take them off?
Yeah, no, this isn't the type of Barbie you want to like undress and,
right. And throw in a corner.
Yeah, you don't want to like change her outfit. Like, this is the outfit. She's got the shoes on. She actually got fixed by my friend Frederick. She fell during the pandemic and had an accident. So he fixed her around the waist pretty well, because she broke in half. It was a sad
that
day.
Is a sad day. But they don't, because the thing about Barbies is that they don't articulate very well. Like, the joints don't move. They're more not statues or busts, but they're not, because there's different kinds. I've had some action figure dorks on, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, then, do you know what sandstone is?
Sandstone?
Yeah, these sort of lines of Barbies, I think they're made from what's called sandstone. I think silkstone, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a chemist, but yes, they're not just plastic, is what I'm saying.
Okay. And I will say, just to remind everybody, I am talking with Tess Rafferty. Tess Rafferty has a new mystery novel out called To Lie in the Sun, available on Amazon, Kindle, or paperback. Amazon, To Lie in the Sun. It's at the Tess Rafferty on her Instagram, or just at Tess Rafferty on Twitter.
If Twitter's still a thing when this airs, we don't know.
Exactly. Right.
It's about our times.
It's crazy times.
It's fun about it. Yeah, it's great. So those are, so she's one of my faves, and possibly when I started really kind of digging into my adult fondness of like, I can have a couple of Barbies in my house. This is kind of fun. I'll put them in my office, and yeah. Like I said, I don't own a ton. So that's
your second thing.
That's my second thing. My third thing is a little postcard. But here's why it's significant, because this is two of my kinks meeting that I am okay with. So this is a postcard of an outfit it's an airline stewardess outfit for Braniff Airlines.
Okay.
That was designed by Emilio Pucci, but they made some for Barbie.
Okay. Who's Emilio Pucci?
So Braniff Airlines was an airline that's no longer with us, right? A smaller kind of airline. This advertising executive, she during the whole Mad Men era, right? Her name was Mary Wells. She had her own agency. She was a very big ad exec. She was a very big trailblazer because, as we know from watching Mad Men, they weren't just letting women be ad execs at the time.
No.
I believe she was married to the guy who owned Braniff. Anyway, she had this brilliant idea. Pucci was this designer in the 60s. He was he had a shop on Capri, so he was very famous for the Capri pants and the resort wear. It was all that sort of post-war luxury. People were vacationing. They were on Italian islands. They were wearing mini skirts and caftans and things,
right?
And having bright, colorful fabrics.
It's a Rock Hudson, Doris Day movie. It's happening right in front of your face.
It's all, you just want to live in that world, right?
Yeah, I love those movies, even though they are all kinds of trouble.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. But his fashions too, when you look at them, it's a vibe that you want to be in, right? Like it's an imaginary world that you want to play in.
That palette is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. I want to be a jet set person and in my resort wear. I want to need, like, they always, the high-end boutiques, like Neiman Marcus, not a boutique, but department stores are always like, our resort wear collection is out here. And you're like, can you imagine being so fabulous that like you have to shop just for your vacation? That's a thing. Like I need clothing to go on vacation in.
That does feel like a very Barbie thing too, for sure.
Yes, I need the outfits. And so he designed uniforms for this airline, and they were very hip and fun and 60s and sexy, and kind of he made everything else, all the older airlines, look stodgy in comparison. And then of course they designed little airline hostess outfits for Barbie, like the ones he designed for Braniff, and released them as clothing. And I'm like, my mind is blown by all the crossover in this.
Right. There's so much, like, how do you even know each other? How did this happen kind of thing, where you're like, where's that story? I love that idea. Like, well, my husband worked at Braniff and I'm in advertising. And then, well, I know the Barbie people, and, it just spins and spins, and cronyism is real as real as nepotism, I suppose. Right.
And it's Mary Wells. Her company name was Wells Rich Green. And she has her own autobiography. I think you might have to get it secondhand at this point. I don't know if it's still in print, but it's really fascinating because, again, she was one of those women who did it, who went out there against all odds, right? They weren't handing women like her shit at the time.
Right.
And she just kept proving herself. And all the big ad campaigns you remember were like, quality is job one, plop plop fizz fizz, all those, I think Flick Bick or something, all those things were hers.
Oh wow. All right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because those are not particularly glamorous ad campaigns. Those are very much like just a catchy, let's just get them. Let's just catchy one-liner, and we're done, out. And like, 'cause there's a lot of overthinking. You watch Mad Men and you see he's selling the carousel, he's selling the nostalgia, right? And it's a different kind of. I just watched Lover Come Back, which is Rock Hudson, Doris Day, and it's about the advertising industry. And Rock Hudson is kind of a crummy advertising exec, and Doris Day is a hardworking, nose to the grindstone advertising exec. And he says that he's got this great product and he makes it up, and she takes it to some sort of, it has to be an illusion that there's a board that you could for integrity with the advertising agencies. And they're like, well, what is VIP? what is VIP? And so he has to come up with what VIP is, because he said that it's called VIP. He bought billboards and everything, just to, because it's a plot point. And but then he has to come up with VIP, and by the end, I don't want to actually ruin this movie from 1960, but VIP, he hires a scientist. He's like, make something, make anything, because I need to go before the board and tell them that this is a real product.
Is.
Yeah. Yes. And it's the best part of an incredibly dumb movie. But the movie, the thing that VIP is an amazing thing. But the movie itself is so beautiful. And it's all about, with advertising, you just want the quick lines. You just want So
yeah. I mean, it's a lot of things that went in, a lot of things that go into it. Like anything, right? There's I'm sure there was like, they didn't want the quick line. They did want the quick line. They want the story. They don't want the story. What story do they want? But those, right. And those are off the top of my head were the ones that she did.
Right. And there were probably a dozen more. So
yeah. Many more. She had I believe she's still alive. I might be wrong about that. But she had a career that spanned just decades.
Right.
Decades in the business. So you can't, obviously I don't think you can get near like buying these things with what I make as a writer. So the closest I got was this postcard of the outfit.
Oh, right.
That's how that sits where I can see
in a prominent, awesome place. That's neat.
And you know what? Again, I don't need.
You don't need. Who needs stuff?
Who needs dolls?
Sometimes I'm out and I see something that I think someone would like, and I just take a picture of it.
Yeah.
And then I send it to them, and I'm like, I was thinking of you. You don't have any room for this, or this is too expensive. I'm not buying it for you. But I thought of you, and I thought you might love it, and so it came to pass, and usually very appreciated.
I do that at the Sherman Oaks Antique Mall a lot. Because I just, because you never know when you're going to find that thing that somebody's like, yes, I've been looking for that.
Right.
But more often than not, it's something that someone's like, yeah, that's cool. Or I already have 3 of those or whatever it is.
There's part of me that wants these books that I read in junior high they were essentially boys' adventure books from the early 1900s that this guy wrote. And they're out of print, but you can get them print on demand. And I have never been able to. I printed one on demand because that's not what I want. Because you could also read them for free on Kindle, because obviously it's public domain now. But I was so mad. Like after college, I went back and I was like, "Do you have these books?" And they're like, "No, we threw them out because they were getting too old." And I was like, "You threw out books? What just happened?" And it's like old books, like nobody wants the original Gutenberg Bible. What's happening? And they're like, it was a Joseph Altshuler Civil War boys adventure book. Nobody wants it. And I was like, me, I wanted it. Anyway, so be it. But what else you got? We're almost done.
What else do I have? I have, so the 4th thing, and maybe it's the 5th thing. I don't know. I think the 4th thing is just houses. Like one in particular. So one thing actually. So this one in particular, I got. I growing up, I had the Barbie dream house, which was again amazing.
Yeah.
Dream. Yeah, because again, I think it's also like when you're a pre-teen, tween, adolescent, like the idea that some part of you, even if it's vicariously, could go live in a house without the rest of your fucking family is like pretty amazing.
Do you know that my sister Darla at 9 used to read the real estate section? And she would pick a house and she's like, this is the house I want. And I remember one time I must have been 7. She was probably 10 or 11 by then, because I remember asking her, wait, you would want to move out? She was like, oh, yes. And I was like, well, so you wouldn't live with us? And she said, you could live with me. And making her the best sister ever. But
right.
So yeah.
And maybe she's saying that to everyone who catches her, just so like just so they don't tell on her. No, just don't tell Jackie. But yeah, you can
You would be the one. Yes.
You'd be the one. I think that it really is this kind of aspirational thing where you just see it and you're like, I have my own space. I can direct, I have this own world that I can decorate it. And can decorate however I want. And it's modern. Like, the old doll houses were like, they were always Victorian. And why did little girls always have mice in them and not people? Do you remember that? Like the little mice that had dresses. And I knew so many girls who, instead of people, had like the mice families living in there with like Victorian clothes on it. Like, it makes no sense. And,
I don't know what you're talking about.
The houses were old. The furniture was old. There was like a spinning Jenny or something in them. Like,
you wanted a modern house.
Yes, I wanted a modern house with furniture. She could fuck her boyfriend and then tell him to get lost and go whatever. And I love that as a kid. That I'm sure that got given away to someone and then given away again or whatever. But
hopefully it's still being given away.
Hopefully. And that's all fine, because what was I going to do with a Barbie dream house in my 20s and my 30s and quite honestly in my 40s? Like,
right.
But what I did find at one of those wonderful places on Magnolia and Burbank a couple years ago was one of those old 60s houses. They had the one that my aunt had too, and I should have gotten that as well just because they were cool. But this one kind of folded up like a square and, buckled up. They used to have that closure in the front. And then when you unbuckled it, it opened up into 3 rooms. So there was like the middle room and then the 2 on either side. And it was a mod 60s place.
Ooh.
On the wall that said Carnaby Street, had like very pop art, black and white wallpaper in one room, a big like daisy on a table in another. And I was like, just something in you, like when you're having that conversation with yourself, which is like, I don't really need this, but I just really want it. And I guess Dork Forest, right?
This is it. This is the place where you admit it, you celebrate it, you go, did you get it?
Oh yeah. And I
tiny standing ovation.
It was during Christmas time that I saw it because I was Christmas shopping for people and I kept seeing it. And it's in fine condition, but the top of it's cracked. It's like hard plastic roof on the top and it's cracked. And I just saw it every time I was Christmas shopping. And I was like, it's before I'm getting gifts for other people. And then the day after Christmas, I was like, damn it, I'm getting it for myself. And I was so wrapped up in surely I can't be the only person in the world who would want this, that I actually called the store that morning on Christmas. Like, as soon as they opened and were like, I'm coming to get that. Could you set it aside for me? Like, when I think back on it, like, how many other middle-aged women are running around Burbank at 10 a.m. on the 26th of December, Tess?
You might have been surprised. I say you played it smart. You made sure you got it. It didn't cost them anything to pick it up and put it by the register. No. All good.
I'm sure they didn't even do that. I'm sure the lady was like, because there's like a tiny black and white TV in that store where they're always watching something local, like whatever the latest court show is or something. Yep. And I'm sure she's Judge like, Brown. Not even, yeah, like, yeah. All right, I'll keep an eye on it for you.
Tess Rafferty, that's an hour.
That's
perfect. Everybody, we have been talking with Tess Rafferty. She has 2 other episodes. One's about Italy, one's about mysteries. And she writes mysteries now. That's right. To Lie in the Sun, LIE, because it's a mystery and people lie. At Tess Rafferty on Twitter, at the Tess Rafferty on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, To Lie in the Sun. Yes, this is the book.
That's the book. And you can get it on Amazon.
If you're watching Kindle. On YouTube.
Yes. You can get it on Kindle. You can get it in paperback. And I will put it in the notes. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank you. This has been a great therapy for me, I think.
Cathartic. And Rangers, the rules remain the same in 23. Take care of each other out there.
My hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?